Hey everybody, how is it going? It is time for the RambleCast. I'm in here with Corbin Davenport,
Hello.
and it is July 19th, 2023. There was news?
There was a little bit of news. And
It was news adjacent, I
yeah.
guess. Man, Amazon Prime Prime Day sucked all of the energy out of the room, and everyone decided that room sucks, we're not going to go back to it.
Uh yeah. That seemed like it was kind of a stinker. Um I I ordered a again, ideally I wouldn't buy anything. But I have Amazon credit left over from a return. So I did order a CO2 sensor and I got and that was it. So that was my purchase.
Uh, I just picked up some very, very low cost props for some photos. Um,
Yeah, I should do something like that at some point. My photos are again. I don't have the red bench anymore. I just have my wooden table that looks fine, but could shake it up a little bit, get some better variety with the backgrounds. Um, Eventually,
yeah, that makes
just
sense.
just need like some cool like towels or something to use as background.
Oh, yeah. Other than that, all I got was food because that's that's the thing that needs to be afforded. Which, speaking
Food's
of,
good.
no joke, my for those who are following along with the story, my office chair has broken further. Um,
Hmm.
it it is now only held on by two bolts at the back of the seat. Or sorry, the back of the chair is only held on by two bolts at the back of the seat. So if I lean against it with any weight, it'll literally just fold right back, like nothing else is holding it there. Um, so I have now got, I'm not kidding, tied around the arms of the chair. Uh, it is this like baling cord that that yeah, it's literally just holding this thing together. I mean, this is past the point of like duct taping. It's ridiculous. And I still have the arms wedged underneath the desk because it requires both of these to realistically hold. So yay.
So next Bramblecast, you'll be sitting in like a picnic chair.
Uh, Very seriously, I've been tempted to break out. And anyone who watched early Android Police podcasts will actually remember this. I'm tempted to break out the exercise ball just like Cam did. Cam
I mean,
absolutely had for a few weeks he tried sitting on an exercise ball and he came away basically saying, "Wow, what a mistake." But at this point, I'm actually thinking it might be a good idea because if nothing else, it's probably safer.
yeah, probably. It's gonna be a nasty explosion at some point.
Uh huh. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Um.
there's air in the ball too.
Yeah, but that can only
They'll find
explode
it.
so much.
Yeah. Um, Austin said I got a 3D printer that I'll use twice and put in the basement. Yeah.
Carson,
Uh,
I should get Cam to guest for a show. I have thought about reaching out to him actually quite a few times. Um, I know I say this about a lot of things, but I really need to actually like do some proper upgrades to this thing before I start dragging anybody else on. Corbin is used to the low quality of this show, but
mhm.
I'd like to upgrade it if
It's
anyone else
it's
is going to join.
comfortable.
Huh?
It's comfortable.
Yes. There is something to be said for the quality of low expectations, or the advantage
Yeah.
of low expectations.
the greatest upgrade to the show in the past year has been my webcam light, which, if you go back far enough, is just a side grade, because I was using that Razer camera for a while that did have a ring light on it. And that's the one that would always lose focus of me, even when I was sitting completely still.
That was pretty
really
special.
Yeah.
Carson, first things to go is the blue OBS layout. Yes, it will be replaced by Verge Purple.
Good. Yeah, I also have like a few people I would like to have on Tech Tales episodes, but I get like nervous. I'm like, I don't know if I'm ready for this. or the more specific problem is like a lot of the stuff I pick out to talk about is like a lot. I'm like, hey, do you want to sit here for an hour and a half or 2 hours? I have nothing to pay you with, but it might be fun. I don't know. We'll see.
No, you can pay them with exposure. Your own exposure, that is.
Yeah. Yeah, so I need to get better about getting some topics that are quick hitters. A triumphant return to like the under 30-minute Tech Tales episodes, which there's not been one of in a long time.
Oh, so what you're saying is you don't want to have me on anymore?
Yeah. No. You can be on, but you are the only one there. I think you could talk to yourself for 20 minutes, and that's an episode.
You think? I mean, there's literally a YouTube channel here that is dedicated to the fact that I could talk to myself for hours.
There is, yeah.
You're just here to lend credibility to the fact that I may not be entirely insane.
Sure. Yeah. Figment of your imagination.
Actually, it's possible you don't exist. I've just invented you.
Yeah. I think about that sometimes.
And Austin says, apparently Herman Miller chairs are out of style and can be found for reasonable used prices. So the used price we're talking about is whatever I might still have in my wallet, which is probably under $20. I think people still ask for more than that for Herman Miller.
Austin said you need to do a satirical Tech Tales episode for next April Fool's. Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna do another like really stupid April Fool's Tech Tales again. But I will do more like factual but silly ones. I think those would be fun. Like I do eventually want to do a Tech Tales about the wheel. Like,
about
I think
the wheel?
Fun. The wheel. Just what wheels.
Oh, okay.
Invention of the wheel. That might be a sub 20-minute episode because I don't think there's a whole lot of a backstory to the wheel.
I mean, I'm not sure too many people know the backstory.
It'd
If
be
anybody.
interesting.
Yeah, I'm picturing some ridiculousness that could come from that, but at the same time dreading it. Magnus and how Apple invented them. I like it.
Yes. I mean, on that note, like another thing I thought would be fun to do at some point. I have a couple of these ideas for things that are quote unquote low effort, but the way I currently make them would make them potentially more effort than actual episodes. So I don't really, other changes would have to happen. But I think it would also be fun to do like we sit and listen to all of the Windows startup sounds and rank them and talk about each one. That'd be fun.
It would certainly be interesting.
Yeah. Because some of them do actually have history behind them. There's information about how they were composed and stuff. But yeah, someday. I was going to segue to something that I forgot.
Well, speaking of listening to things, this is the best transition I'm going to be able to come up with. Apple, or rather, Apple subsidiary Beats, has released a new pair of headphones. The Beats Studio Pro. It's a thing. The Verge already has a review.
Yes, yeah. This was announced and simultaneously review embargo went up. So there's a couple reviews for this already. And it seems pretty okay. Kind of the Beats is such a weird division for Apple now. They're kind of like I don't know how much they still exist independently, but like AKG and Samsung was kind of in this position for a while, where AKG was like the thing that Samsung used to make cross-platform and more like independent audio stuff, versus Samsung, which was like very tied to Samsung's own phones and tablets in their like Galaxy ecosystem. And Beats is still kind of that for Apple. And really the farthest Beats went is they use Apple's like wireless chips. Like their headphones will use the same Apple custom, whatever audio processing as like the AirPods. But they'll still have pretty good Android compatibility. They were a few of them were using Lightning ports, but now they're USB-C. This is a USB-C headphone. This is more of a thing that works pretty well with everything, which is nice to see. I wish more of Apple's stuff was like that. Yeah, but yeah, this is just over-ear headphones. It looks exactly like all the other Beats headphones for the past 10 years, which is kind of it's a choice. Verge said it's still very plasticky, which is cool. But they did point out that in their review, they said this has better sound and ANC than the Beats Studio 3, which was the headphones these are replacing. It has lossless audio over USB-C, which is something that the Apple AirPods Max does not have lossless audio. And you got transparency mode. It natively supports it works with basically everything on both iOS and Android. So like on the Android side, it does like Google Fast Pair stuff. There's the full app where you can change the controls and update the firmware and that kind of stuff. And the same stuff on the Apple. And that sounds basic, but like that's more than that. That's on being on par with competitors is a pretty big ask of Apple with stuff like this.
Kind of, yeah. And it's really amazing that this is in so many ways better than the AirPods Max. I mean,
it's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. I didn't read this review yet. Did they say if they sound equal or better or worse?
Than the Max?
Yeah. Yeah. What's the price? $350 for the price.
Yeah, which is that's a lot of money for something that.
Isn't that what the AirPods Max cost?
I think the AirPods Max are $450, aren't they?
That's right, they are, aren't they?
Buy $550.
Wait, what? Did they go up?
I think they were always this price. Yeah, that's insane.
Apple is truly crazy. They've gone absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, I mean, like, those were nice headphones, but that's a lot of money. And So, yes, these are $200 cheaper in comparison. I think this is the same price as the normal pricing for Sony's like XM whatever headphones that I have. Um, Although I got mine on sale, I did not pay 350 for these. That's insane. Sony XM5s are. Oh, those are okay. Normal price for those is three. Okay, normal price for the Sony XM5 is $400. The XM4 is 350. So
That does
this
kind of leave me
is
wondering if these Beats are over-tuned for bass, like pretty much all Beats products are, but
well, Verve said the audio is actually pretty balanced, but it's like just it's fine. I don't think they were overly blown away by it. So kind of just seems like normal modern ANC headphones. But yeah, kind of interesting to see Apple, support other ecosystems. Um, I'd like them to make a USB-C AirPods, please, because my original AirPods are dying, and I'm not buying anything with a Lightning connector on it.
yeah. Well, if I didn't need this damn trackpad, I wouldn't have bought until they released that with a USB-C port. But man, they are gonna hold on to that to the last day. I'm certain of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, yeah, these things. I mean, they look unimpressive. The design is actually not that great. The feature set sounds really nice, but at the price, like, you can get most of this stuff in cheaper models. And I don't know how good they actually sound, like, versus various different options, but yeah, it seems like typical Beats. They're overpriced. They deliver, I'm sure, a good enough thing, but they're overpriced for what they are.
Yeah, and what I can't tell from these pictures or the parts of this that I've read are if the ear cups like swivel at all. It doesn't look like they do, but maybe. But that's kind of important, as human ears. Fun fact: they don't point directly outwards. they're curved a little bit, which is nice on these. Like these tilt back and forth.
Yeah, I can see they have a breakpoint where they could do that, but in looking at pictures of these being worn, they look like they're perfectly lined up. So I have a feeling they probably don't swivel. I bet it's just the I bet they only just conform with the softness of the ear cup.
Yeah, probably.
And actually, if they swiveled, there's a picture of somebody holding them here one-handed. There's no way in hell they wouldn't swivel.
Yeah.
Especially actually in this shot, because someone's just holding it very awkwardly. Yeah, if they swiveled, it would be very obvious in these shots. They don't.
Yeah. So, yep. New headphones. Yeah.
So Apple's
still around.
Yeah. So Apple's other big move. Holy crap! Apple is jumping in on the please make our stock value go up moves by leaking or hinting or whatever that they're testing an AI chatbot. And just like everybody else except Microsoft, they don't know what the hell they're going to do with it. So I freely admit I haven't had a chance to fully read this article, but a few things did jump out at me. One of which is this actually is running on Google Cloud. And it is built with Google JAX, a framework that basically is used for fast and efficient machine learning. Um, Also, very annoyingly, they've decided to name it Ajax. I just am inclined to call out the fact that we already have a thing in tech called Ajax. Please just leave it alone. It was fine the way it was. Web developers know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so well, Corbin, do you have anything you want to jump in with before I say mean things?
Not really. I don't think there's enough details here to really say much. If this is just another like cloud-based AI chat thing, then I'm not like overly interested because I don't know if Apple can really do better there than the options that exist already. Ideally, I would like to see them build something that can run locally because there are AI chatbots that can do that. They're just a lot worse because they have less processing power to work with, and you know, they're less training data. But like, there's so many issues with that. Like, are people gonna be okay? Like, if you need to have one of those large language models on an iPhone, that's gonna eat up all of the storage immediately. There'd be some challenges trimming that down.
I mean,
yeah, I don't.
We have Google Voice Assistant sitting on phones with some capability to run locally. If that can fit on there, there's some degree of a language model you can certainly fit on a phone without totally overcommitting the storage and memory requirements.
Yeah, it's just a question of would that be useful? Because already we have, large language models that are cloud hosted and have training data in the gigabytes, terabytes that is not ultimately that useful except for generating bullshit.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, the thing that stands out to me is setting aside that they're rumored to not know what they're going to do with it. I know what I want them to do with it, and the easiest way I can say it is go watch the Microsoft, was it Build? Yeah, it was Build from 6 weeks ago, a month, whatever. Or
I think it was in May.
Well, no, I think it was in like very early June, because everybody else was in May, and I think Microsoft slipped right over into like June 2nd or something. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was like the last week of May, but whatever. It's 6, 7, 8 weeks, something in that neighborhood. Yeah, Microsoft Build. They introduced their Copilot thing, and while some of it was gimmicky, some of it was really cringy, the fact is they announced some very cool stuff. They showed some demos for things that, without question, I want on a Mac. It's a lot of the stuff that sort of would just be a good continuation of the Shortcuts app. I want that. Give me shortcuts, but with some smarter functionality that can be flexible in very clever ways. That's something I want. Yes, Pilots of the but yeah, give me something that's functional. I don't just want a gimmick. Unfortunately, that's what Apple kind of does. Siri was like 80% gimmick, 20% function when it was first launched, and it never really even crossed the 50% mark. It was always like 50% gimmick, and I'm a little worried that that's kind of where they're going to go with this too. I'm hoping for better. I just don't know that I'm optimistic enough.
Yeah, definitely the most use I've got out of AI tools has been uh, analyzing like documents and making tables from them, or changing the formatting in a way that's a little bit easier to parse, that kind of stuff. And I've been using the times I've tried to do that, I've been using the feature in Microsoft Edge where it can read a web page, which also works for PDFs that you open, but it won't actually read the whole document with that, so it's kind of hard to use that. Um, but when it works, it's really cool. So yeah, the stuff in Windows Copilot looked kind of impressive, and just the ability to like do things that like shortcuts can do, but just do it in a way where like you're talking like a human, like, hey, open this app with that document I was just working on. All right, sounds good, buddy. So yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, I don't know what Apple's planning there, and I don't know. Kind of find it hard to be anything but pessimistic at this point. After reading, about the 100th story about some writer somewhere getting laid off or threatened to be replaced with AI.
Yeah. Which, anyone who hasn't been paying attention, there have been a couple of semi-high-profile stories of this just in the last week. People who were doing a job suddenly getting replaced by AI, and the results immediately, like overnight, proving why people should not get fired yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with CNET. Freaking, like, as soon as someone found those finance articles, which, again, horrifying, that were written by AI, it's like, oh wow, everything here is wrong. So good times.
Oh yeah, absolutely the best. But speaking of AI, you mentioned this earlier. I forgot to add it to the list, but it just happened to be very convenient to pop up. Microsoft puts a steep price on Copilot. They're going to be charging $30 per user per month to activate the Copilot features in Microsoft 365. So
now that story was specifically about corporate customers. So they don't have pricing or availability or anything for normal people yet. I will be very interested to see what that is, because as it stands right now, Microsoft 365 is like a fantastic deal if you like even just want cloud storage. I saw the individual plan right now, which is a terabyte of cloud storage, all of the like real Office apps if you want those, or if not, you can just use the web versions in OneDrive. And OneDrive again like does files storage, and it's like kind of Google Photos. It'll back up photos from your phones. That's $10 a month for one person. And I think if you have a family, it's like 14 or something, and it like bumps up to like 5 terabytes or something. Like it's really good deal.
Yeah, that actually is a great deal.
And now, of course, the photo stuff in OneDrive is not nearly as good as Google Photos, but it's a lot cheaper. So I'm okay with that.
And to be fair, no one is as good as Google Photos at this.
Yes, that's so like, I don't know if they would like try to raise the price for everyone and bundle in Copilot, or make it a separate tier or like an add-on thing, and what that would cost. And also, like, I was talking to some people about this, and I don't know what companies would jump for that $30 add-on.
I think
that's a lot per user.
I think this is going to be one of those things. It's sort of like if you work at certain companies, you see a whole lot of this. The average person who is working in various parts of the company, you'll find that they basically get sort of like the basic everything. Like nothing is upgraded, or the things that are upgraded are like the mandatory and usually cheap. Then you go walking into like the marketing department, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, everybody in here has a full Adobe Creative Suite license. They all have like extra features in this software, and they have these services. Okay, we're seeing where some of the money is going. And then you go walking into like the developer room, and it's like, oh crap, these guys have like $3,000 IDEs licensed per year. Like that's the licensing cost per year. Okay, yeah, these guys are getting everything. It just depends on the company and who you're talking to. But at $30 per seat, like if you're just talking about doing that for the marketing department, okay, a lot of company, maybe not Microsoft per se, but a lot of companies, your marketing department is like 10 people. So, okay, they spend $300 to make those 10 people happier, more productive. If they can make those people more productive by, let's say, 2 hours per month, you've effectively paid for their seat because of what they're probably getting paid themselves. So it's worth it for the right people.
Yeah,
probably.
And the other factor here that is making me curious about personal pricing for this is that one of the big issues with all of these AI tools coming out is that they're constantly there's now a huge list of companies and organizations that tell their employees, do not fucking touch these apps, don't do it, because repeatedly they're either using what you enter into them for training purposes, which I think ChatGPT just turned that off by default. So months of them doing that by default. If you didn't like go click that, I don't even know if there was a switch for the entire.
I never saw one.
Yeah, so they were doing that. There's other cases where like someone asked ChatGPT a question and it brings up something that someone typed in. So that's like a big privacy concern. So like a lot of these tools, there's a growing list of, I just saw NPR told their people not to use these because like there's so many potential issues with data being leaked and being processed in a way that's not good. So one of the areas that Microsoft and OpenAI sort of is going after now is like a sandboxed AI thing, like a version of a chatbot that is like completely isolated and will not like leak stuff out. So I think OpenAI has a product of that now. This is like one of the main focuses of like Microsoft just announced at the same time their Bing Chat Enterprise, which is like this thing. Like it's a chatbot you can talk to. It's like, complies with all of your company's policies about security, whatever. So that's been a whole thing going on. So yeah, I could see. So the $30, like that's kind of crazy. But if I'm a company and like I need this and I don't want my data to be leaked out randomly, maybe less crazy.
Worth it. I don't know why, but I just suddenly thought I want to go ask ChatGPT to pretend to be my grandmother and give me its password. Just to see if it would. Anyway. AI is becoming the default tool for a ton of people. I just think at this stage, if you look in certain offices, you're just going to find so many people want to use this, and the company will determine it's worth it in just so many instances. just like from what I've heard already, like a ton of places are looking at Adobe's pricing and saying, yeah, totally worth it. To do the filling operations that people want to be able to do, we'll happily pay for that. Or to generate art from images from your repository, like that's worth it to them.
Yeah, that was Adobe's main selling point for their generative AI stuff, was like, this is trained on our own stock photos. We have 100% of the rights, so like you don't need to, because that's been the other big issue, is like people generate images with Dolly and Stable Diffusion and stuff. It has like people's like logos and watermarks in the finished image, and they're gonna get sued.
As they should.
Yes.
Plus, Microsoft loves to bundle everything. We know there will be price hikes for business accounts. Yeah, that is... I meant to mention that earlier, too. Microsoft is one of those companies that has, for so many years, worked with major corporations. And it's that classic rule. Whatever you can charge a regular person for something, you can charge a business like 5 to 10 times more. And they're going to. Of course they're going to. So I wouldn't be surprised if people get this for like $10 to $15.
Yeah.
I almost kind of just lean sooner to 10. Also because people probably aren't going to use it as heavily as someone who's working, like actually at a corporation.
The Windows Copilot stuff will appear to be free, so that's
yeah, but that's also a different... it's reliant on a different kind of thing.
Yeah, it's right now it's just being chat, but like with slightly more system integration. Versus the stuff that Microsoft was showing off was like something. What Microsoft was showing off was more like a chat bot or similar AI features that uses your data as the data set. Like things that are not on the screen right now, it will be able to understand. Like, go find this email that's in my, email inbox somewhere and do this thing. But yeah, I will be curious to see what that is.
Yep. So, sticking on the subject of Microsoft, kind of, people may have heard the Activision Blizzard deal is kind of semi-official, but not exactly technically, but probably is, but maybe not. Now, I'm only gonna...
They're running out of potential roadblocks.
Yes.
So that's really it.
So, we're not actually going to stick on this subject, but I am going to briefly catch everyone up on the goings-on from the last few days. Actually, I believe thanks to Nils for posting this in the gaming channel. Basically, all of the government organizations have lost their cases or have paused their investigations or something. Like, all of it is effectively out of the way now, with the technical exception of the UK, which they've paused. So we'll see. But as it stands, effectively, Microsoft, in theory, can go ahead with the acquisition. However, there's a new private lawsuit whose plaintiffs have not been formally announced, I guess. It's really unclear. Anyway, they are suing and asking a judge to stop Microsoft from completing the acquisition right now. They're asking for basically a hold. Diablo, no, I don't know who it is, and I have a weird feeling that it may actually just be people, not other companies, but maybe just people. Hard to say. And in my personal opinion, I think it's basically going to be anyone that is not Sony. I think if Sony were dumb enough to sue Microsoft...
Sony with a mustache.
It could be. I mean...
Jim Ryan with a fake mustache, top hat.
It very much could be Sony bankrolling this thing just to make sure somebody is suing to stop it. But...
Hell yeah.
It is definitely not Sony's name that will be on this. I would stake money on this, because the it's one of those things you just don't do. You don't play that kind of a game between corporations, because that starts getting personal and ugly.
Well, in theory, Sony shouldn't really have any more complaints because they just signed. I mean, obviously, they have complaints from the perspective of like, this is very anti-competitive and it shouldn't happen. But in terms of like actual damage they can point to, they did just sign that deal with Microsoft. Like, they finally signed the whatever 10-year Call of Duty deal. So in theory, they're like kind of out of things to complain about, because the FTC trial didn't go well.
Yeah. But anyway, just gonna kind of gloss over a couple of these related topics. First off, Activision Blizzard has already started its move towards basically being a Microsoft company by laying off its esports staff. And they've announced to go with this that, at the same time they announced dramatic changes for the Overwatch League. So yeah, I admit I did not read too much on the details here, but I do want to just call out, this is exactly what everyone said was going to happen. It's actually happening faster. Tons of people are going to get laid off, and that's just kind of the way this is going to go. It's not good.
Yeah, and yeah, in terms of like the things that are happening under the like presumed assumption that this will go through, like Blizzard is starting to put up Steam listings for their games, and which historically they've stayed away from Steam.
Yep. All Battle.net all the time.
Very much operating under the assumption that Microsoft will buy them, because Microsoft is fine with Steam. I think most of their games are on there on PC.
I think all of them. I mean,
Might
anything that they're actively selling.
Yeah.
I don't know. Has anyone tried checking for Minesweeper? You never know.
I want to know what the Steam tags would be on Minesweeper. It's like RPG.
That would be fun. Anyway, so can you imagine the badges?
Yeah, the achievements.
Yes, the achievements. Yeah. I got blowed up. I didn't get blowed up. Achievement.
Great.
No, anyway, so yeah, there are pages now for at least Overwatch 2. Were there any others? I didn't actually check that. I know I saw the one for Overwatch 2.
Was Diablo 4 already on Steam? Let me see. If I go to Blizzard Entertainment's Steam page, it's just Overwatch for now.
Okay.
But,
so
maybe that's the easiest one to port over.
Could be. And to be fair, maybe this is sort of like a tease or preliminary thing. I would go so far as to even raise the question, were they already planning this and maybe held it back for Microsoft, or maybe there was a timing issue where I don't know. This is one of those things that happens so quickly. It feels like this was already in the works, probably for a while.
I mean, like Overwatch 2 is a free-to-play game, so that's one of those games that like you would want on every store platform imaginable, because then you can hook in people easier with additional purchases. So the fact that it wasn't already on Steam did make a lot of business sense, but Overwatch 2 is still like kind of relatively new, so maybe didn't get around to it. I don't know. But yeah, good times.
Yep.
I will say, if this goes through, I hope all of the paid unlockable stuff, where at least like all of the heroes in Overwatch 2 get added for Game Pass people. That'd be cool. Yeah, I mean, Diablo brought up cloud gaming. Yeah, uh, I don't know if I'd want to play Overwatch 2. That's the other thing with like the cloud gaming stuff is like Microsoft's cloud gaming still does not support keyboard and mouse, uh, which is still really, really not fun.
Who is smoking what over there?
Yeah. Um, so, good times.
But speaking of Microsoft and Game Pass, they're going to kill off the good old classic Xbox Live Gold and replace it with Game Pass Core.
Yeah. So, okay. This was really weird. I was trying to write an article for this and I was like getting confused myself. Um, because like
Okay, but that happens often.
this, yeah, this seems like something that, okay. So Game Pass already is like kind of complicated to talk about because it's technically three things. There is a Xbox Game Pass, which is a subscription with the games that Microsoft has rights to for Xbox consoles. Then there's a PC Game Pass, which is basically the same thing but for PC games. Okay. Then there's Game Pass Ultimate, which has everything of those two plus cloud streaming plus EA games. Okay. Now, this entire time, there's also been Xbox Live Gold, which was the original thing you would pay money for that unlocks online multiplayer. But now, of course, there's an increasing number of games that don't need that because they're free to play or they host their own server infrastructure. So, but like it's still a thing you needed to pay for to use online in a lot of games. And so now they are replacing the Xbox Live Gold with Xbox Game Pass Core, which when you parse out like all of their marketing language here, it's the same thing. It's the same price, which is $10 a month, which is kind of insane. Um, the only difference between what Xbox Live Gold was and what this is that this has a few games in it. So, old system, Microsoft would have like 2 or 3 or 4 games a month that you could claim, and they would like stay on your account as long as you were subscribed. But over the past like 2 or 3 years, like the games haven't been very good. So, uh, so they're sort of replacing it with this just system where like, okay, you pay for it, here's all of the like 20 games you get, and like they're actually pretty good games in there. They've got Fallout 4, they've got Human Fall Flat, they've got Psychonauts 2.
They have
like,
Among Us.
Doom
I mean,
Among
what
Us.
more do you need?
You don't need anything else. That's the only game you need. Doom Eternal. So good stuff in there. The two parts where this gets really complicated and doesn't make sense is number one, when you on that article, if you scroll down to that price comparison thing they have, where it shows all of the 4 options now, you'll notice that the core unlocks online multiplayer. The console does not have that. So if you are the kind of person who just wants to play a bunch of single player games plus maybe like whatever's in Game Pass that has its own hosted multiplayer, you could just pay for the console Game Pass, but you wouldn't get online multiplayer. Or you could just pay for the core, which unlocks the multiplayer, but only has 25 games in it. if you want a lot of games and the online multiplayer, you immediately jump to the $17 a month Game Pass Ultimate, which I think is still like a decent deal considering like literally everything in that packet, like as long as you're using it actively.
Mm-hmm.
um like it's a lot better than like paying $67 a pop for a new game. um and there's new games on there pretty often.
So
Again, it depends very heavily on the kinds of
yeah.
games you're playing.
Well,
And
how frequently you flip games, and yeah, just how much you
right,
flip games.
or if you bought the Xbox Series S, and in which case you can't buy physical games and resell them later anyway. So
Yeah, yeah. But sorry, I didn't mean flip games in that sense, but that does factor in. Um, yeah, this is definitely aggressive. It is very predatory. I don't like it. I kind of hate.
oh yeah, so the first issue was that like this is just kind of complicated. Like why does the you'd expect the next tier up to have all this stuff in the previous tier, but that's not really how this is working.
Yeah.
So this is already complicated. And the second thing is that this is making the problem that Xbox Live Gold had worse, which was that there's not just a let me have online multiplayer option. There's not a like I'm sure there's a lot of people who are like, I don't care. I already have Doom Eternal or whatever. I just give me the thing that's like a couple bucks a month and lets me play whatever online game I want. And
Where's the thing where you can just say, literally, I paid my $70 for this game.
right.
I don't want to play any other games. I don't want any other features. I don't want any of it. I just want to play this game with my friends. That's it.
Yeah,
Can
there
I
needs to
just
be
pay for that? It ain't
yeah,
it.
this needs to be, you know, this stuff has been free on PC for a long time now. Granted, that comes with shifting like server costs to like game publisher. So like I can get the rationale behind there being a subscription price, but like there needs to, if that's the case, there needs to be a like let me pay $2 a month or something, like whatever the server bill is, like divided across
Yeah.
however many people the Xbox consoles, like there that option needs to be there. If like I understand servers cost money to run, maybe you're not making a lot of money on those Xbox consoles right now because there's a whole shortage and blah blah blah. Okay, cheaper option. Take out the games,
Yes.
but but um, you know why do that when they could put in some games that a lot of people have already played and charge $10 a month for it. So
Yeah, you're basically it's a program to subsidize developers, but only the ones who are already successful and fairly popular.
well, not all.
Okay, there are
I
exceptions. That's
Well,
true.
I was just meant to say like I don't know what the exact percentage is looking at this, but there's a lot of stuff in that package that just Microsoft owns.
Yeah,
They're
that's true
like
too.
they don't own the Among Us studio yet, but they do have Doom Eternal. I think Fable. They have Fallout 4. Yeah, Fallout 76. Forza's Microsoft. I think Gears is Microsoft. All the Halo games, obviously. So, um, Psychonauts 2 and Elder Scrolls Online are Microsoft. So,
Yeah, huge,
uh,
a big percentage for
at
sure.
least half of this list is stuff that they own. So, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm like. Like this is just really confusing now, and still not. Uh, again, there. If I understand you have server costs and maybe you can't balance that out with hardware sales necessarily, but there needs to be a cheaper option for just flip the multiplayer switch.
Hmm.
Um, I think that's like probably bare minimum um, compared to PC multiplayer, which is generally no cost to the user as long as the game keeps running. And Diablo said, "I need a family bundle, please." They were testing that in a few countries. They just stopped. They're shutting that off. They had a Game Pass friends and family thing where you could add like 4 or 5 people. Uh, and I don't remember how much it cost, but it was never live in the U.S. and they're ending it. So,
Yeah.
and again, like that'd be pretty cool. But they'd like more money. So
I don't blame them. I do, actually. I blame them immensely because we could all use more. But hey, greed gotta do greed. Speaking of wanting more money, Netflix.
yes.
They their infamous crackdown on password sharing has apparently increased signups. Shocking. Lots and lots of people have decided to pay for a thing that they were previously getting free because they're no longer allowed to get it for free. I kind of am not surprised. Though apparently there was 60% of these new signups were something else. Anyway. That's in the other stories, sorry. But
yeah, so yeah, the first part of this is that they had a boost of signups. So they rolled out the Netflix plan with ads in, I think it was November or December. So that showed up in the Q1 2023 earnings that Netflix did a couple months ago, and they had a huge boost of signups at that point because, you know, there are a lot of people who at some point checked out of Netflix because they kept raising prices and canceling everything and everything else people don't like about Netflix. And a lot of them came back when there was an ad plan because it's like, all right, this is $7 again. I have to sit through some ads, but this is actually Netflix. And they said at that point that about, I think they said 60% of the ad signups of the new signups for the ad plan were previous customers, like people at some point who had stopped paying for Netflix and then came back. So the ad plan was pretty successful for them. And earlier today, the news broke that they no longer offer the basic Netflix plan. So the $9.99 a month one, which had 1080, I think it was locked to 720p and one screen, but it had no ads. That one's gone now. Because another thing that they pointed out in their Q1 earnings was that their revenue per user was higher on the ad plan. So even though you're paying less, so in theory, Netflix is getting less direct money from you, you're watching the ads, which they get money from. So, they make more money from the plan with ads than without. So the one without ads is gone now. So now their plans now in the US are like $7 or whatever it is for ads, and then $15 or $16 a month for Netflix with no ads and full 1080p whatever, and a couple, like I think 2 or 3 screens, and then they have the like super premium one, whatever, that's like if your entire family of 5 wants to all watch Netflix at once.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see, who was oh, okay, so yeah, Diablo said the ad plan makes sense for them indeed. Google loves ads. What this really reminds me of was when it came out that Facebook was making, I forget the exact number, or I might even be way off on the number, but at one point there was that whole topic about would people be willing to pay money to get the social networks to stop showing them ads, like basically just a remove all ads subscription. And somebody came out with some number basically saying if you want to buy Facebook off of showing you ads, you would have to pay them, and I swear the number was $152. and I don't remember over what time period that was. I'm assuming over a year.
A week.
Maybe. Um, but whatever number it was, even if you break it out to like monthly, it was universally obvious no one was going to pay it. It was going to be way too much. Or there would be people that paid it, but it would be a relative, very tiny minority, like probably not enough to support doing this. So, that's kind of the issue. Netflix, very unsurprisingly, found the exact same thing to be true. Ads pay well, especially if you have someone's sort of rapt attention, which is something that Netflix obviously would have. Like, oh, you want to start a video? Cool, we're going to show you an ad right before your video starts.
Yeah.
And it works. Like, of course it works. And sure, some people will get up and take that as a bathroom break, but most people will just sit there and watch it. They don't want to. They'd rather it not do this, but they don't want to pay more. And so that's the trade-off.
Yeah, and this is of course also after they stopped the password sharing stuff. So now, like, adding a person like outside your home is like $8, or they can migrate to their own plane and like take all their data with them. So yeah, just getting very expensive. You know, definitely not fun to watch. And Austin said Netflix splitting their big shows in 2 releases gets them an extra month from all those who joined to binge a specific show. So when you say 2 releases, do they mean like a season that's like 2?
So they're basically doing part 1 and part 2 seasons. So
Okay.
for example, and I don't remember if they did this with Wednesday, but I'm just gonna let's pretend that's a case. I think Wednesday was an 8-episode season, so they would basically give you 4 episodes on, let's say, July 15th, and then the other 4 episodes would come on August 15th. They've now done this with. They've been doing this for probably about 4 months ish, something like that.
I mean, I can think of a lot of shows on things that are not Netflix that also like to do that.
Yeah, and I want to give them a little bit of credit because obviously, yes, this is I don't want to say there's anything wrong with it because it's kind of hard to say there's anything wrong when everyone else does this but worse. But I actually kind of appreciate that if they're going to do anything, I like that they do it this way where they're still unloading a batch of episodes together. Because if you're one of those people who's like, I don't want to watch all of this stuff in it like week to week because it's too easy to forget details. You don't really get the enjoyment of getting engrossed in the characters and the story. You want to watch it all together, then this still kind of works for you. And what you can do is sort of know that the release date is coming up, and you can watch the first half anytime between when it comes out first and then when it eventually comes out later. Plus, if you really still want to be, sneaky with your subscription, just subscribe to Netflix like a week after those first episodes come out. You'll get it. Big deal. You had to wait a week to watch those episodes. Who cares? And then you'll have Netflix for the next 3 weeks until the rest of the show comes out. This isn't tricky.
I'm perfectly fine with the like. You're gonna do 1 episode a week for like a month or 2, when you do a new season or something. Just like that's really great marketing for your show, is like to have people talking about the new episode every week for 2 months on, not Twitter anymore maybe, but other places. So like I get that. It kind of gives the people who like worked on those shows like a little bit more time in the spotlight, so to speak.
I want to agree with that.
It's
So I have a problem with this, and I realize that this is something that happens for me. I'm sure it happens for others. I don't know how much it happens, but I've definitely noticed it with HBO. There are shows that I want to watch, and I never know when they're finished. I never know when because I'm one of the, I don't want to watch a show week to week. I hate watching shows week to week. I want to watch them, not necessarily binge watching, but I want to start watching a show, and when I sit down to eat, or I've got some free time, I'll sit down and watch another episode. And like, that's what I want to do. The problem is that doesn't gel with watching week to week. So I try to wait until a show's done. I never know when a show's done on HBO. So I just add it to my list, and then I basically figure, all right, someday when I think about it, I'll go look at my list again and think, is this show over? Is this show done? Now I'm gonna go research and double check.
Okay,
that ruins it.
I'm gonna disagree, and it's because a show's over on HBO when it gets removed from Max. That's when you know.
That's fair.
It's not there anymore.
Actually, at this point, I would argue, a show's over on HBO if it's on HBO.
Yeah. What, Westworld season 4 done? All right, show's completely gone now, wiped from existence.
A bit of a different story than what I was getting at, but yeah, that's true.
I'm just being an
ass. Oh no, you're being absolutely right about it. Just saying. So, yeah. Also, going back to something that I think it was Carson who said it earlier. Maybe it was Austin. I'm like 80% certain it was Carson. That Netflix isn't really worth it anymore. I keep hearing people say this. I've heard people say it a lot. And at the same time, I'm sitting here like, okay, well, Wednesday was a massive hit. I know Stranger Things is going away, so I'm not going to count that. But The Witcher has not been canceled yet. I'm emphasizing yet because, let's be honest, Henry Cavill's gone. He's out. Liam Hemsworth is taking over. Everyone knows that's going to be weird. Yeah, so probably not going to make it past this next season. But even so, like, Witcher is still a popular show. It's probably still going to be popular. It just may not be popular enough. There are other shows that are popular. I just can't honestly think of what they are. I don't feel like Netflix has quite fallen to that loser status yet. They're getting there, but maybe not there yet.
I have never paid for Netflix.
Ditto.
I used it. I used to use it a lot, like 5-8 years ago, back when it actually had like almost everything, and then kind of started dropping off. And of course now I can't like use my mom's account, so not really check. I mean, I don't know. I don't really personally have any interest in like most of what they make. Don't really care about Stranger Things and that stuff. The last thing I watched from them that I was like actually invested in was probably Altered Carbon. I really liked the first season. Second season
was good.
Yeah, second season I didn't really like all that much, but it was still fine. And then then they canceled that. So
I had to struggle on second season for sure.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And I just, like I say, Jeff, I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago, I finished reading the first Altered Carbon book because I'm like, okay, Netflix is done making it. Can I just read the books now? Because like, there's more books than they adapted to the show, so I can, find out what happens. And holy shit, the book is garbage. It's the events are like, now I read the first book, which is like the first season. That's how they adapted it, and the story was like, it had like a few big differences, but it was like, okay, like I get why they changed that, like whatever. The writing was terrible. I fucking hate I forget it's like Philip something.
Wait, Philip K. Dick? Can't be.
No. Uh, fuck, who is it?
I mean, that.
Richard K. Morgan. I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh my god, I fucking hate his writing. It's garbage. He takes forever. Like, he just goes way too far into details that don't matter. Uh, his writing style like actually infuriated me. There were a lot of parts. Okay, so like every scene in the show where like any character has sex, that part in the book is like several pages too long and is like completely like men writing women, like that meme where it's just the most like, I'm like, why am I reading like bad like erotic fiction in my sci-fi cop book? What's going on? This is It was not written well. It made me not it. I did not like the book, so I will not be reading more of those. But I wish someone who is not Netflix would maybe pick it up and make it into a more tolerable show. Um,
I it's hard to honestly I find it very hard to imagine them fixing it after what they did on season 2.
yeah,
Um
let's let someone else have a try at that series in a few years. I'm still waiting, honestly, for someone to adapt the Space Odyssey series. I think I've said this multiple times now, but there's like 4 books in there. At worst, the books are like fine. I really like the first 3. The last one's not that good, but I'd like to see someone take a swing at that. I think that'd be good.
okay, so I was just about to pitch an idea for something Netflix should do because it is a money printing machine if there ever was one. Unfortunately, it then occurred to me, oh wait, no, I know exactly who owns this IP, so they'll never be able to get it. But I was going to say they need to reboot Firefly.
Mm,
But Disney owns Firefly.
yeah.
And Disney will never give that up because they know that they are just sitting on something that if they just wait a little longer will be gold.
And I wonder if it's stipulated anywhere that like Joss Whedon would have to be involved or get payments of some kind or something.
If Disney's smart, they'll just keep it quiet. Like
Yeah,
they'll keep him on as they if they're smart, they just keep him on as like a consultant.
yeah.
And
It's like like Warner. Every time they make anything Harry Potter, they're like, no, don't look over there. Don't look at it.
yes.
We know she's saying some really bad stuff. Don't listen. We're still giving her all the money, but try not to look over there.
I mean, strictly speaking, God, really wasn't aiming to turn this into a topic, but strictly speaking, I mean, no one ever complained about Joss Whedon. Well, I can't take it. I can't say this. I was going to say no one ever complained about the stuff he wrote. They complained about him being on set and being
That's
a
true.
director. But that's not actually true. There were a lot
Well,
of
his
people who
his 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 writing isn't like grossly offensive towards or using stereotypes. It's just like really grating after a while.
well, okay, but that's exactly what he was accused of. Is that a lot of people were a lot of people thought that he was like anti-woman and anti-feminist because of his writing, and somehow they were using Buffy the Vampire Slayer as proof. To this day, I've tried reading some of their explanations of this. I can't make sense of it. It's almost like reading QAnon theories, but um yeah.
um, but
Anyway, I'm
yeah.
just saying like
Anyway, my last suggestion for Netflix is
yes.
I would like them to uh, do AI total replacement on Kevin Spacey in House of Cards, and just give me, because like I really liked that show when it was new. and I'd like to watch it again, but I don't. It it's it's pretty rough to try that now,
That's fair.
especially like, and it's not even like a, oh, I separate art from the artist, whatever, or whatever that expression is. But it's like his character in that show is very close to what he allegedly did. So it's really rough on multiple levels. So I think they just edit him out with the new Photoshop can do that, and slot someone else in there, or make
Okay.
it fun. I think you could. They could just do a like Garfield without Garfield, but for House of Cards.
Okay,
Uh,
so I have a 3-pack idea for Netflix. 3 different things that I think that they should take over. First, they should reach into their pocket, pull out $5, and offer to buy the entire DCEU franchise, because let's be honest, that's what it's effing worth. Pay another 20 million to bring over James Gunn. 20 million, is that even enough? It might need to be more. Whatever. Anyway, bring him over.
It's like probably what he's got under like his couch cushions.
God, it really is. Anyway, pay whatever it takes to bring him over. I mean, he's already supposed to be in charge of it, but actually do that, and just let him actually do what he wants to do. Because let's be honest, we know that he wasn't going to get to do what he actually wanted to do with DC. And somehow Netflix, please kill off Superman. Just actual kill off. Done with him. Don't make him part of this story. The second part, same thing, but with Mortal Kombat. Third thing, same thing, but with Transformers.
Ooh.
Netflix, just take over all 3 of these massive franchises. Do whatever you're gonna do with them. Make them dark, make them gritty. That's something Netflix is good at, kind of. And then do the thing we all know you're gonna do: cancel it after like 2 seasons, because that's all we want of these things. That'll be perfect. Anyone with me on this hot take? Anyone?
Yeah, I mean, don't they already have a Transformers animated show? I feel like.
Oh, I'm sure they must.
Probably. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, any of those are better than charging more for ads. I think. I'm sold on a Netflix building a theme park, which would just be like Stranger Things world, and then like one little corner dedicated to everything else they own.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically how that would go.
Yeah, which I do enjoy the crack that I made earlier. If they ever did have a theme park, the very first thing that they're gonna do is toss a coin to your Witcher playing in this section where you're walking into like Geralt's tomb.
I think it'd be very funny if like the door opens to the park and it does the Netflix dun.
Oh God, yes. Or no, the bus that drives you from the parking lot to
Right.
Yeah, whenever the doors open for that, it's gonna play that.
Yeah. See,
That's perfect.
Yeah, we're in the wrong career path.
We really are.
You pitch this to Netflix.
I'm
I'm just overflowing with great ideas, and you're there too.
Thanks. Awesome. Doesn't the entire LGTV, I know you mean LGBTQ, community love Buffy? I think they do. As far as I can tell, the people who hate Buffy are mostly the people who say they're feminists without actually understanding what that means. Whatever.
I've not watched Buffy.
You should. Fair warning, season 1 is really just rough because it's one of those things. Like, they didn't have a great budget.
It's Star Trek.
Yes, it's Star Trek.
It's
Except
every Star Trek show.
except it actually gets good. Um,
Okay. Oh, wow. Wow.
I mean, the Next
This
Generation
is
was
what
good.
I'm talking.
Anyway, but
Yeah.
yeah, you actually should watch Buffy. Fair warning. Uh, well, not I don't want to say fair warning. Seasons 2 and 3 are phenomenal. Like actually some of the best TV ever. After that, it gets more generic. It's if you get
I'll,
bored of it, just stop. But 2 and 3 are amazing seasons. Like really amazingly well acted, great characters, great story. Joss Whedon, you know what? People can say what they want, but he created a damn good show.
I mean, the first Avengers movie was pretty good. Um,
Yeah.
it's about my, and also of course, um, rewatching Community, which of course he was also responsible for.
He was?
Um, yeah, I believe so. Unless I'm confusing it
I
with
you're definitely
another.
I'm almost entirely certain Joss Whedon had nothing to do with Community. It was that other guy who
Dan Harmon. I thought
yeah,
I was
Harmon.
thinking of, yeah. Other creepy male. Yeah.
I mean
Anyway,
in Hollywood?
I can't believe
No.
it. I can't believe it.
No, there were no other creepy dudes in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Um
And
Awesome.
speaking of creepy, Google Chrome.
Yes. Okay,
Huh?
we'll hit that one.
Yeah. I'm gonna go after this one because I want food, but
Oh no, that's perfect
um,
because it's also the last topic that I have on here. By the way, fair warning, it's a short one today, guys. And girls and
short one.
non-binary friends.
So Google Chrome 114 came out yesterday, and this one is really big, but in a way that most people will not tell, but still matters a lot, which is that Google is finally flipping the on switch for Privacy Sandbox, which is their big overarching project that has been on for several years at this point. Um, that has encompassed their ideas for replacing third-party tracking cookies, which have been a huge problem for privacy for forever. That's their entire purpose for existing. They're just little bits of data that monitor your activity on the web and send all that to various advertising companies who then use that to target ads for you on other pages. So uh, you know most browsers have been blocking these now because they're really bad. Um, but Google is an ad company, so it needs to find a way to maybe make these, maybe replace them with something else that can still serve you ads, but maybe in a less creepy way. Um, the main component of this, and kind of the part that's the most horrifying, is the topics API, which the premise of this is that, so how tracking cookies work is that a website would or a website would leave a cookie in your browser storage, and that cookie would report back to some advertising uh, company, platform, whatever, like every web page you went to, and then that company would build like a rough profile of like what you're interested in and use that for targeted ads. That's what Google does. It's what most of the big ad platforms do. Google's proposal is, instead of the cookie sending your data, like your browsing history and stuff, somewhere else, your browser is the one that's compiling data about you. So your browser is the one that's looking at your browsing history and determining topics you're interested in, which is why it's called the Topics API. And then it sends those topics to websites that request it, and then they can target against those topics. So if you're shopping for cars, Chrome's going to be like, okay, this guy likes cars. And when you go to a website that supports this API, it can be like, hey, Chrome, what are the topics that this person's interested in? Chrome's like, oh, they like cars. So then that site knows to show cars. So Google had this idea like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was a huge mess because the number of topics was like in the thousands. Like it got really specific to the point where it was actually pretty easy to fingerprint people across the web because again the topics were so specific that like you could target against those to find out individuals. Um, so that was not good. Google kind of went back to the drawing board, and then that first proposal was called Flock, and that might be familiar because everyone complained about it when it was new and said this is horrible. So Google dropped that. They replaced it with the Topics API, which is a lot more generalized. Like there are not thousands of topics as far as I know. There's like I don't know the exact number, but like it's pretty general, like cars and like country music, like that kind of stuff. It's not like 1950s Chevrolet cars, that kind of stuff. Um, but it's still, your browser looking at your behavior and sending generalized details about your browsing history to ad platforms that want to use that. And back in January, the worldwide consortium, the W3C, which is like the group of everyone who determines browser standards, asked Google to please change this API before you roll it out to everyone. Google ignored them. I have, in this article I wrote, I did find, well, TechCrunch found it and then I copied them. They linked to Apple and Mozilla's official statements on the final API. And is this one Apple? Which one did I click? Yeah, so Apple person laid out a bunch of points why this will not be in Safari. Really anything like this was not going to be in Safari because Apple doesn't need it to be. Apple's not an advertising company, and Safari already blocks a lot of privacy compromising stuff. But they were worried about fingerprinting. They were worried about they said verbatim in here, we don't think cross-site targeting of ads should be on by default as a web platform feature. Mozilla said kind of the same thing. They were just like, their point was like, which I think is pretty fair, was like, just because an old standard was really bad for privacy doesn't mean that the new standard also has to be bad for privacy. But of course, that's like this is how targeted advertisements work. You need data, and Google wants to keep targeted advertisements alive because it makes them a lot of money. So this was always how all of this was going to happen. Like there's no scenario here where like Google was going to get everyone on board with this stuff.
No.
And now this is enabled by default. I will be curious to see which Chromium browsers keep this on, because in theory this is something that they should just be able to turn off in the code somewhere. For the life of me, I could not find if Microsoft is planning to do anything. They have a page on their website that lists like all of the changes they've made to Chrome, and it's not on there. I don't really know what I imagine like Vivaldi and Brave and stuff will turn that off, but I couldn't find anything in a reasonable time frame that they would.
Well, those in particular, I almost feel like they might just leave cookies enabled. But this screams to me anybody who has their own ad agency, like Google and Microsoft do, where they're actually selling ads, doing targeted ads. I have a feeling that they're going to want the Topics API on. Companies that are all about replacing ads or doing sneaky, hinky stuff behind the scenes, they're probably going to be much happier with cookies, and they'll probably try to keep that going as long as they can, and eventually they'll switch if the winds blow that direction.
I mean, well, the other component of this is that now that this is rolled out, Google is going to start testing, completely turning off third-party cookies.
Right.
So
But that doesn't mean that sites can't have JavaScript that just tries to place a cookie, and if it fails, then it's like, okay, well, we tried. Because
yeah,
what are you going to do? Ban sites that are trying to use cookies? Doesn't that's not going to go.
yeah.
That
Well,
won't
they'll
fly.
probably just, yeah. I mean, they'll just do it like Firefox does, where it's like, okay, yeah, yeah, set as many cookies as you want, buddy. We will not tell you when the sites don't work on when the cookies don't work on other sites.
Yeah. Um but point is, I have a feeling that those other browsers are going to want to hold on to this as long as they can, because it's just better for them. And then the browsers that make a lot of their focus be on privacy, like Firefox, they're going to turn this off, just like they did with cookies.
Well,
That's what they're going to do.
well, Firefox is just not going to implement it because it would be like a
Yeah,
lot of work
yeah.
to do
Fair
that.
enough. Fair enough. That they won't implement. You're right.
It's just the Chromium browsers that will uh, get this in their mainline code. They have to decide what to do. And yeah, it's really interesting to see this finally roll out. And I don't think I have it yet. If it's like innate, yeah, it's Chrome's checking for updates now, so I'm gonna find out if there's like not a. I don't know if you can turn this off. Um, Even if you can, I know at some point I need to like try something that is not Chrome again. Um, but everything's Chrome, so
Time to reinstall links.
yeah, like I can't do Safari because there's no extensions. Um, so it's really just Firefox or one of the weird Chrome forks to contend with.
There are extensions for Safari. You just have to pay.
Yeah, which means I won't get to use mine, which I like the most
Yes.
because I made. And I know they're not siphoning data anyone else because it would just be me.
Yep. Oh, so yeah. Anyway, um, this is one of those things. I feel like there's some amount of inevitability to it. Like it's gonna be hard to say that it's not gonna get used, and no matter what level of privacy and protection gets added through other browsers, Chrome is likely to remain the top browser, at least for the foreseeable future. And we're even if they're not, some of the other top browsers will support this. And so yeah, this is just kind of an inevitability. People are going to this is just going to be the new advertising method eventually. And that's life. I wish I had something happier to say about it, but that's life. Um, so, yeah. I don't know. Do we have anything? Other thoughts?
Nope, just you know, I, I'll probably play with other browsers again, uh, some point. Again,
I probably will not. No, I probably should. I mean, I do use Firefox a little bit. I Well, we've already ruled out Safari, but I do occasionally have to pop open Safari just because it's installed and it serves very specific purposes. Um, but yeah, still mostly Chrome,
yeah,
and I'm not really aware of any others that hold up a decent user experience while also being particularly good at privacy and everything else. Firefox is the best one I know of, and
yeah. Firefox is good. The one I've been looking at the most is Vivaldi. I haven't looked like super duper close at like if there's anything sketchy there, but I think they just make money from the pre-installed search engines, and they have their own like little search thing.
yeah,
Uh, but I've used them occasionally because like I have Chrome extensions, and like occasionally someone will be like, "Hey, your extension doesn't work in Vivaldi." I'm like, "Yeah, because it's not for Vivaldi, but I'll test it anyways."
Yeah.
Um, and it's got some cool stuff.
Well, I uh, I think that probably is the wrap up. Um, and just to quickly address Austin's earlier comment, uh, the superhero stuff is definitely oversaturated. It's definitely on a way out, but it's not dead. It's not going anywhere. I think we all know this. They're just gonna go into slumberland for a few years, and then
Yeah,
come
it's
out
like yeah,
painfully stronger than ever.
it's like zombie stuff. Like
Yes.
there's a resurgence of zombie things, and then nothing happens for 5 to 10 years, and then there's another big surge.
Remember when The Walking Dead was, gonna end, and now there's gonna be like 87 spin-off shows of every single character off doing their own thing? Yeah. That's what we're gonna. I mean, that's already kind of what we have. It's just gonna get worse. The Avengers are all gonna have their own show. All of them. Each one is gonna come out every month on Disney Plus.
Perfect.
That would actually be a good way to keep people on, but whatever. Um, how's the weather looking this weekend for me? That's a good question. It always changes, but currently looking like 90 and 86 for Saturday and Sunday. That's actually not bad. I mean, it's not great, it's not wonderful, but it's 90 today, and it's tolerable. So yeah, I will probably be gaming this weekend, but for reasons I oh wait no. No, I was gonna say I have a review unit situation, but I'm not going to deal with it this weekend. I'm actually gonna wait till next week to start really dealing with it. But I can't talk about that. That one's under embargo. You will all find out soon enough. Actually, next RambleCast, you will find out what it is that I literally, no joke, it got slid through my door just 10 minutes ago. But I can't talk about it till next week. Also, my phone came back. So yay, my phone has been supposedly repaired, and it also just slid through the door. Carson, you can probably join Sunday night, not Saturday. Excellent. Look forward to seeing you there. Let's see. Also, one of these days, I will start doing some Overwatch too. But we will see when and how that plays out. Corbin, do you have anything you want to say?
We have a new Tech Tales just dropped about the Apple II GS. I will put a link to Tech Tales in the YouTube chat. That was the first episode I edited with Logic Pro, and I think it went pretty okay. Um, I enjoyed not having to manually edit out all of my breathing noises. There may have been a way to accomplish that in Audacity that I was not aware of, but it's nice to do that in one click, and pretty good stuff. Still need to keep tweaking stuff, but yeah. And so yeah, there was that Tech Tales, and then there's also, I'm gonna plug this. So I think this was somewhat recent, but I have updated my browser extension, Share to Mastodon, which gives you a button and a right-click menu option and a keyboard shortcut for sharing the page you are looking at to a Mastodon, to a Mastodon server. Um, the new update, I updated the settings page so it's laid out a little bit better and makes more sense. And it still supports multiple servers, so you can have a couple different Mastodon accounts and just choose the right one when you want to share something. And it still uses the share dialog hosted by the server itself, so this is not like an app that you need to grant permissions to your account. It just opens the right thing on the server itself. And I found out that get this, I keep confusing this name, but I found out before this update that the extension also already worked with calc key and miskey without me doing anything. They copied Mastodon's like share intent thing, so it just worked right out of the box. I didn't do a single thing. Now calc key is called a Firefish though, so I'm gonna have to update some text there. Also allegedly works in I think one other thing, but yeah, so that's updated now. It's like some Mastodon integration for your web browser, basically. It's fun to work on because again, so it's the cool part about working on stuff like this that plugs into like federated social media is like people use it in ways you don't like like plan for. Like I was like, it was really cool. It'd be like, oh, this thing I made works with like 5 other social medias, like without me really doing anything. That's kind of cool.
It's always great when we can not do as much.
Right. It's like, oh, that's cool. You just copy the thing. That's great. Carson said thread support next. I mean, I was considering at one point adding like Twitter as a like server options. Like if you typed in Twitter, it would use their like share intent, so you could still have it in the UI. But then Twitter has just become worse and worse, and I doesn't really make sense to support in any capacity because who knows how long all that will keep working. But I mean, if Threads ever gets like a share intent thing like that, sure, you know, it's like 2 lines of code on my part. But yeah.
Let's see. So yeah, if you're using Mastodon, thing to check out. Let's see. Austin brought up the Pixel Superfans giving away Pixel tablets and folds via contest. I do need to look into that, I guess. Though. Yeah. Well, I just need to look into that. So. I haven't actually looked at the email. I just saw that it was there. Let's see. Also, big thanks to Austin for sending a donation the way of the channel. Definitely appreciated. Super thank you. Also, thank you in general to Austin, David, and Diablo for being Patreon subscribers. You guys are awesome. And for anyone else who would like to throw anything this direction, there are links down below to Streamlabs, Cash App, and Patreon. Also other links if you want to check those out as well. Let's see, this is like the longest outro I think we've had in a while. It is like pitch after pitch after pitch. Not that I care at all if anyone goes to see this, but somewhere in the next week or so, I'll have a review of the Insta360 Go finally getting published, maybe, and there will be a video, which is not really a video review, but it'll be me kind of playing around with the camera a little bit, or kind of what I've done with the camera. Yeah, it's not particularly great. It will not be the standard by which I start publishing videos, but if you absolutely just need more of me, there will be my voice in it. So yes. Anyway, with that, I believe that is where we're ending it today. So thank you all for coming by, being part of the conversation, hanging out, keeping us talking, and feeding us things that make us seem a little bit more like we know what we're talking about. Uh, on behalf of Corbin, who I'm also going to make say goodbye, but I'm going to say goodbye on his behalf first. So thank you all for coming by, and goodbye from both of us. Corbin, your turn.
Bye.
So dumb. But anyway, good night, everybody.